welcome to Mental Health. Today, I've got a really cool interview for you. I've got to read the name of the band off the paper because, as we all know, I'm not good at pronouncing things, and I'm gonna butcher this. All right, here we go. The band is Shylmagoghnar.
Almost exactly right. It's Shylmagoghnar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm gonna bring and today we're talking with Nim from Shylmagoghnar. Gargle. Right.
Something like that.
Yeah. So you're out of the Netherlands, Nim?
Yes, I am.
That's cool. All right. I've never talked to anyone in the Netherlands, so this is gonna be fun. All right, let's talk about music first. We got a lot of good subjects here. It's going to be a good open interview, and I'm excited about this one because you'll find out in a bit. I'll get to say something cool. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So music. I'll just let you know how I came along finding your band. I fell asleep listening to music on YouTube, and then I woke up to your album. What was the first
Emergence,
one?
probably.
Emergence,
right?
yeah. And I woke up to that and I was like, this is fucking awesome. All right. And then I got onto the social media and found the band, and now we're doing the interview.
And then you probably sent a message and I didn't respond to it because I never visit my social media these days, something like that. Yeah.
Yes, that, and it was also in like just before the holidays, so there's lots of good excuses going on. So yeah,
perfect timing. But you know what you just said, that that's something I always really like. Like, many people listen to music as they're sleeping or as they're falling asleep, and I think that's a time when you're especially open mentally to these impressions. And the thing with Shylmagoghnar and Emergence is that many of the things on there are straight from dreams. Like, many motives, many melodies are something that I've dreamt at some point and somehow was able to quickly scribble down when I woke up. I think it gives a certain quality to the music that it's hard to describe. It's a certain out of this world quality. That's also why we have such a weird band name. We wanted something that sounds a bit otherworldly and weird, to describe it.
that's very cool. Like first of all, with the band name, like you'll stick out, and like it'll be fun just trying to get people to try to pronounce it. That's fun right there.
That's half the joy.
As far as the dream things goes, let's just go straight into the mental health stuff then, because that'll also help explain just the hearing music in your dreams, right? Well, I have schizophrenia, and Nim, you have schizo-affective. So we're a couple of schizos, not the same, but we're both labeled with stuff. Do you want to talk
different,
about your
but the same in a way, right? Yeah. Sorry, what was the last question?
Do you want to talk about your experience with schizo-affective?
Sure, yeah. For me, it didn't show up until I was, I think, around 21 years old. But there were already things happening before that where I started to notice that, how do you call it? I always felt like I was with one foot in this world and with one foot in another. I heard things that weren't really there. I vividly remember when I was around 16, I would have conversations with the Grim Reaper. He was just sitting next to me. I was about to go to bed. I was lying in my bed, and the Grim Reaper just sat there in my chair and had a very casual conversation, like, how was your day? How are you doing? How are plans? Stuff like that. And not for a moment I would consider how bizarre and weird that is, because to me he was just like my buddy sitting next to me, just talking about my day. And then after, let's say, 15 or 13 minutes of conversation, I would suddenly snap out of it and realize there's no one here. There can be no one here. That's not possible. I must have been imagining it. And then 10 seconds later, I'm talking to him again, not noticing that I stepped back into it again. That's how it started for me, I think. So,
well, on one hand, like the mental health in me is like, okay, we gotta get you checked out. On the metal side of me, like, that's fucking awesome talking to people, right? Oh, yeah. But okay, so it sounds like it's like a little bit delusional, and like
yes.
seeing people there. For me, my delusions, they were like memory based. So I would remember someone talking to me all the time,
Yes.
and it would always
Yes.
be like very paranoia-ish
Yeah.
things. Like
That's recognizable.
yeah, like me, my core of my delusion 8 years ago, that one was that I stabbed a gang member, right? And
Mm.
for me, it was like it was so then I had to do all these things to prove myself, and I had all these memories of people telling me things when they never happened.
I very much recognize that. Actually had a very similar one. It was not that vivid, as in I couldn't remember what I did, but I got
Doesn't help either when
these.
it's not vivid, and you can't like then you're just trying to
Yeah.
grasp onto straws and yeah, yeah.
Did you actually see the image of you having killed someone, or was it
I
more like
yeah,
you
I
feel
have a
like you
full
did it?
memory, and then like people trying to cover it up and things like that too, and then not being able to trust anyone because
Mm.
anytime they said no, Rob, that didn't happen, I just automatically you're lying.
Yeah, you're in with it, or you're covering up, or you're just trying to protect me because you like me and stuff like that. It can be
Yeah,
very, it's nasty like that. When you're in your delusions, it will just turn your loved ones against you in your head, and that's one of the worst things about it. And I must add to this, I've been lucky enough to find my wife very early on. I've been together with her since I was 18, so she was there when well, the schizo stuff really started to break through, so to say. And I had the problems that you just mentioned. That at first I wasn't sure if she was being honest to me when she was trying to help me, but I must say that my trust for her in the end won, and nowadays she's very much an anchor for me. Like whenever I'm slipping into these let's call them delusions or paranoid thoughts, she very much is my anchor in the real world that basically just tells me, no, what you just saw was this, what you just heard was this, or I didn't hear it, so it's probably just something that's happening in your head, but in a very respectful and loving way. And that's something, I think that's one of the reasons why I'm able to live with this condition and actually get shit done, right? Like I don't know how it's for you. You're obviously also doing stuff. You have a channel, but I don't know if I would have been able to crawl out of these thoughts as well as I did if I didn't have loving people around me, like my parents, my brother, my friends as well. They've always been very supporting about this. So you need people around you, basically.
yeah, a good support network is very important.
Absolutely,
If I was all on my own, I know I'd just be living in my delusions the whole time.
absolutely.
And
Yeah,
yeah, but
because how couldn't you, right? That's the only thing you know. That's the only thing you hear all day long. So yeah.
yeah, and with meds from a doctor and like I mean, sure, you went a better route than I did because I
Mm,
went okay. I'm also going to be my own doctor on top of them
mm,
being a doctor, but it
understandable. Yeah.
didn't work out. But let's go back a little bit.
Hmm.
You have a wife. Like
Yes.
how many like when you get diagnosed and you think, oh, I'm gonna be alone and just nothing forever, right? And then you have a
Hmm.
wife. You're killing it,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah, I'm really really happy about that. Like I'm happy to such a degree that I sometimes actually wondering if that's something that I'm just imagining. But I have the pictures of it, so I know that she's real.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think I just I always feel that like I'm lucky. She tells me that it's not just luck; that it's also something that you yourself have to do. Um, I mean, if you're just a bastard, you're probably not gonna have many people around you, right? But to
Very
some
true.
degree you are who you are. You cannot fully control your actions, especially when you're becoming ill. And there were probably some parts when my disease was starting to rear its head that was very hard on her as well. So I'm also very glad that she stuck through it with me, right?
Yeah, that's very strong of your wife. And
Mm, absolutely.
I'll give you a little story of one of my delusions. That's kind of like on that subject matter. When I was in the psych ward for my month stay 8 years ago, I had a delusion that my dad had a second family.
Oh,
Right? You know how some
okay.
like he's not a trucker or anything, but like so, you know, some truckers go town to town, they can have like a bunch of different families,
It is
depending
possible,
on
yeah.
where they are because they're always on the road. Well,
Yeah.
I had a delusion that I talked to a half brother, and he was
Okay.
talking about his family and how my dad, you know, had a second family, and
Hmm.
I was in the psych ward at this point. My family was coming to visit. They just got there, and I was having these delusions. So I started telling them about it, and they're like, "Rob, we gotta leave. We can't listen to this anymore." And my
Yeah.
dad didn't get laid for a year because of that.
Also, so you told your mom about it and she believed it, or what?
Yeah, they came. My brother and my mom and dad came to visit me in the psych ward, and I started rambling on about this
Oh shit.
delusion, and yeah, they
Oh,
did.
that's bad.
Well,
Yeah.
and also they didn't know anything about mental health at the time. Like they had to go to classes and things like that just to understand it all. So
I was just gonna ask, like, didn't she give it the benefit of the doubt? Like, you're in the psych ward, so I would assume that at least some of the stuff you say should be taken with a grain of salt, right?
yeah, right. Like like an asteroid of salt. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, that's pretty bad. Like, that's something I haven't had before. That my stuff got so bad that other people actually got pulled into it. Like, but the problem with the thing that you just said is that it could actually be true. So
Yeah. All right.
it doesn't sound so crazy when you hear it. So it's probably, and that's nasty.
Yeah. Right.
how,
Um,
how did it end up? How did that get
my
resolved?
parents are still together. It's a very strong relationship.
Very good.
So that's beautiful. A lot of people that went through what I put them through wouldn't have
Mm,
been able to stay together. We'll put it that way.
yeah,
So I'm blessed as far as that goes. Um,
that's true.
let's talk about like I don't know. This is gonna sound weird to a lot of people, but like for me, it felt like my reality bumped into like a parallel universe reality. I was starting to pick up like memories and things like that from
Yes.
something else. I don't know, but like that's kind of what it felt like if you could feel that, you know?
Yes, I know exactly what you mean. Like, even though I have my own versions of it, I think that actually really describes it. That's also what I meant earlier with I'm one foot in this world, one foot in another.
Yeah,
I always feel like I'm getting these. I wouldn't call them messages. It's more impressions. Like you get memories or short visions. Visions of things that you shouldn't have ever seen, and or you're sure that you've never been there, but they are so real and so vivid that it's almost impossible to ignore them. Like,
yeah,
that's one of the problems here, right? Like when people tell you, just ignore it, it's not real. The classic thing that you're going to think then is, well, define real. If I see this 50% and this 50%, then there's no reason for me to pick one over the other, because the 50% that's telling me it's not real might also be a dream. So how do I pick between these two? And to be honest, I still haven't quite found an answer to that. Like, I think I am more anchored in this world now than I've ever been, partially because of the band, by the way. Like, interactions with people about music have given me a strong reason to get up in the morning, which is absolutely fantastic. But there's still large parts of my time that I spend in that other world, and part of that music and part of my ideology comes from that other world, and it's just as real as me as anything else.
yeah. You were when we were talking from email and everything. You kind of said that you go through cycles, like almost like a
Yeah,
monthly cycle. Do you want to talk about that a bit?
sure. Yeah, that's also part of the schizo-affective disorder. Like, basically, the from what I know, the big difference between schizophrenia and schizo-affective disorder is that schizo-affective is a bit more like an in between, a little bit of schizophrenia problems, but also the bipolar disorder
Okay.
thing. And that bipolar thing, well, the timing on that varies a lot for different people. But for me, it's, let's say I have 2 months, 3 months of heavy depression, and then I get, let's say, 2 weeks of manic, millions of ideas, more ideas than I can ever write down. I feel super fantastic. I basically feel high, even though I'm completely, perfectly sober all the time. I just get so many ideas, and they all feel and sound as if, basically as if you stand in front of Heaven's Gate. They just fly open. God Himself comes walking out with sunglasses and goes like, "Let's kick some ass." That's basically how that feels.
Yeah,
It's the polar opposite of what you feel for 2 or 3 months. Like, for 2 or 3 months, you feel so empty, so hollow, disconnected from anything, basically. Like, I try to play the piano, I hit a single note, and all it does is make me realize how ugly my soul is. Basically, when I do
Oh
that,
wow.
it's absolutely fucking horrible. I can't get shit done at all in that time, and it's also one of the reasons why our albums tend to take, let's say, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
A lot of that time simply goes into the fact that I cannot write music three fourths of the time. I am just not able to write music. I'm just not able to do it. But in those 2 weeks, I write half an album. So that's how it goes, and that's sometimes it's a blessing and a curse, you know.
Like my head just made a connection there when you were saying that, just because you were using like song titles there, like Hollow, Pantera, Disconnected, Megadeth. So yeah, I was like, because like I really connect with that Megadeth album now. World Needs a Hero, with being because I
Mm.
hear a lot of recovery in it as far as like drug recovery,
Oh
as
yeah,
you can hear that with Dave, and in that one,
yeah.
especially in the song
He,
Disconnect. So that's very cool.
I think he also went through a lot of his personal struggles and is still going through a lot of his personal struggles. And I think it's
Always.
probably a common theme with metal bands anyway, right? Like ask half the metal musicians and they're probably going through something at the moment, but that in the end helps them write their stuff, which hopefully then makes that other people who are also going through some shit hear that music and maybe it helps them, maybe it makes them feel less alone. That's what
You're
I at
making
least
me
hope
feel
for.
less alone just having this
Hey, nice.
conversation.
Great, man.
I hope we can pass it on to other people too. Wow.
That's the entire point, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get back into some music stuff. Um, Death. All right. We both
F.
love death, and we came into death after Chuck died.
Mm,
So
sadly, yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so like, why do you love the band Death so much? I know for me, I think it's the same reasons. Just the progression. Every album is just different, but like amazing all at the same time. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that already is the base of it. I think he was one of the first bands I heard where I honestly felt that every album just kept getting better and better and better. And I think the last one was The Sound of Perseverance, right?
Yeah, and then after that, he did Control
Control
Denied.
Denied,
Yeah.
exactly. Like as for The Sound of Perseverance, I wouldn't say that was my personal favorite, but I do think that it was technically probably the highest point he has achieved with Death. Like my personal favorite is the Individual Thought Patterns album,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
an
don't
amazing
know,
one too.
it's a really cool one,
For
yeah.
me, it's more of like I did love the Sound of Perseverance. I've got that one on my arm there.
Nice.
So, like it's missing the part for like the little head and everything, because I absolutely love that album when I got that tattoo done. So yeah,
Obviously, you have the proof for it right there.
right.
But yeah, but you asked me what I like about him, and let's see. I think it's also a personal thing. Like whenever you see Chuck speaking in interviews, he just seems like a stand-up guy. You know, like it's just such a nice guy. Like,
Very calm and
yeah,
yeah, you're right.
like that's almost what you wouldn't expect from one of the granddaddies of death metal, and I think that's one of the great things about it. I think many metal fans will agree that the genre has a bit of a, how do you say it, a stigma
Very much so. And like not
that
only that, when he's wearing that cat shirt, it made it okay for everyone to look
exactly that way. Yeah, I had to think of that one just now as well. I think it's just so funny that he just took the exact opposite of what was expected from the genre and wore it without trouble at all. And he showed the world that death metal is about what's on the inside and not just what's on the outside. It's not just noise and loud, fast playing. Even though he started out with that, right? I think he said originally that death just was planning to be as fast and as loud as they could be.
But like even on Scream Bloody Gore, there, like it's not like it's just simple, like just fast for the sake of fast. Like and
Mm.
then like the progression just gets like cooler with the production and everything
Yeah,
too. Like
it
yeah,
is.
love that band. Yeah,
Me too, man.
because
It's awesome.
because a lot of people like your band is kind of like a death and black metal. Like
It's a bit of a mix,
yeah,
yeah.
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 Like those two branches are intertwined.
Yeah. And I would definitely say that Death was one of the big inspirations. Maybe not so much in the way that the band sounds, because at least I don't really think we sound like Death,
No.
but the way that he like the songwriting. There was a lot of variation, and sometimes he just goes from one place to the other all of a sudden, and it still sounds amazing somehow. I also always liked the production of the later albums. I thought everything sounded crystal clear.
Crystal Mountain clear.
Crystal Mountain clear, exactly. And that was very inspiring for me on an audio perspective as well, because I'm not just into making music. I really love audio production as well. And I don't think he did the production himself, but still, I really liked the choices that they made. You could just lock into one instrument. Like, how many bands can you really just say, okay, I'm going to listen to the bass guitar from start to finish now and not get distracted by anything? Def somehow pulls that off. I could just listen to Steve just doing his shit all day long, and I
And
love
then
it.
Gene Hoglan just being the atomic clock and everything.
Absolutely,
On those albums.
probably my favorite drummer in metal. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone, like a lot of people love Gene, and like
Mm. I saw him live for the first time with he was touring with Devon on the Strapping Young Lad tour, I think, and I had never heard Strapping Young Lad before at that
Driving Young Lad
time.
3. I'm Canadian, right? So like this is Kevin. So that was very
National
cool.
proud, right?
Yeah, right. Oh man,
Right.
I saw them in 2005 at Sounds of the Underground. That was my Strapping Young Lad experience. That was amazing.
Was it your introduction as well?
Pardon me?
Was it your introduction to the band as well when you saw
No,
them live?
my brother was a big fan too, so I was already listening to them. And what like it's like that experience when it's like Sounds of the Underground. It's a whole day of awesome bands. It's just like so overwhelming almost, you know, like how like you're gonna see Strapping Young Lad and Guar in the same day. Like
It was a golden age. Yeah, that was
yeah,
a really
right.
good time back then. Yeah.
Oh man, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sometimes like when I look at the lists of bands, I think that I've missed out on many of them because they had their heyday when I was still a little bit young, and I'm really talking about the original, the thrash metal bands, your
Yeah.
Slayers, your Metallicas, your Iron Maiden. Of course, they're still playing,
I've seen all
but
those bands though.
I've also seen most of them, I think, but. I imagine seeing them in 1986, for example, would be
Oh
a
yeah.
completely different experience, and
Like
even just seeing.
like when the drummer from Megadeth is like pawning off his stuff to get dope after a show, you know, and I was like, imagine if I could have
Exactly.
bought one of those symbols.
That was real. That was absolutely real.
Yeah, right?
And that's something that I do feel I missed out on. But go ahead.
Yeah. I was just putting in that little note there, but
Negative, yeah.
yeah, because like yeah, that would have been cool. It would have been like I would have felt dirty about the whole situation, but like yeah, especially because like well, let's just say I'll show you something cool. This is the first $20 bill that I made during comedy. All
Nice,
right,
man.
I made this $20 from comedy.
That's your lucky $20, basically.
Yeah, and plus it survived my meth addiction, right?
That is impressive by itself, I would say.
Yeah,
So
right.
it's
Like
meaningful.
that's how much I love comedy because like this has been in the drug dealer's hands. I told him hold on to this one because I need it back. I'll
I'm
get
gonna want it back.
another. All
So
right.
you pawned it to the drug dealer, basically.
Yeah. I pawned my 20 and then I got another 20. Oh,
But you got it back, actually. That I have to say, props on your drug dealer, I guess.
yeah, right. Oh gosh. Yeah. Let's not go into that, right?
No. I mean, if you want to, you can, but I don't have many
You're
stories myself
killing
there, I'm
people, but
afraid.
like, thanks for holding on to that 20, right? Oh.
But you should be proud of that. And like, how did you earn it? What did you do for that
That
20?
show was like what? That was probably like close to 10 years ago now. It was a normal show. Normal was like before pot was legal here. You could just there was like it was an activist, like a marijuana activist kind of thing.
Mm,
And they put on comedy shows. And I was very early in comedy, and somehow they paid me $20, the producer of that show, for my set when they
nice.
probably shouldn't have because I was so new and yeah, probably wasn't as good as I could be, and
They
definitely
must
not
have
as
seen
good as I
something.
am now.
I mean, they must have seen the diamond in the rough then, and I think it's good if you get these moments of encouragement early on, even
Yeah,
if you're not perfect at that. It doesn't matter. The thing that matters is that you realize that there may be something there, and you want to continue doing that. Right? Like people always say that you should make art or whatever you do for yourself. To a degree, that's of course true, but
Until you're good enough to actually make money, and then you just treat it more like a business, right?
it helps. It's not just about the business part, but also just the encouragement. I think, like, when we made our first album, Emergence, I honestly didn't expect much to happen there because we had no representation, we had no nothing. We made that shit in my basement, with almost no budget whatsoever. So what can you really expect as a new band competing against all of these giants that have label representation, etc., etc.,
You have
etc.?
over 3 million views on that album on YouTube. So,
How
like,
the fuck did that happen? I have absolutely no idea.
I know you're talented and it sounded amazing. I woke up out of like sleep hearing that, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome!" Like I told you. Oh, but like to get
I'm
on
really
about
glad.
the encouragement part, like I understand that about encouragement, but there still has to be some honesty there because like
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
don't know about if it's like the same way in the music part,
Mm.
but like for stand up comedy, when you're on a show and like there's a bunch of like new open micers, and then like they can bomb, and then all the other comedians still say, "Oh, you did great tonight." It's like fuck off, you bombed. You should know
That
that.
doesn't help. Yeah, you
No,
sometimes
right?
you need the criticism that you need to hear, and
Yeah,
if you
right.
can't give yourself the criticism, it has to come from the outside. That's absolutely true.
And then they don't
But yeah,
they don't learn anything from that set where they
mm,
bomb, but like they don't realize it. So they're like, okay, I'll write all my jokes like this, and then they end up not having
mm,
any structure.
yeah,
And it's more just like rambling on for a long time with like 5 minutes of rambling, maybe one laugh point if they're lucky, and then it's just like,
mhm.
okay, what are we doing here? There's no
Yeah.
setup, no
You get
punchline, and
you,
it's
you
just
get suddenly a real audience, and then you realize that they basically hate you. They think you suck,
yeah,
and
because they
what is
pay
this guy
money.
doing
Like
here?
if
Right?
like
Yeah.
people actually pay money to see a show, they're not paying for your jokes that didn't even work at an open mic or anything, right? So
Exactly. Yeah.
it's
Sometimes you
very
need that
tough to
friend that
see.
basically tells you, buddy, you got to work on your skills. It's not good enough yet. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it, but you need to work on this stuff. And
Yeah,
yeah, I
that's
agree.
how it is with comedy. Is it like that with metal with the music industry?
Yes, it should be, at least, I think. Like, I wouldn't say that at the beginning I had a lot of people that were that critical of me, but I am myself extremely critical of our own stuff. Like, everything I make basically sucks until it ever so slightly doesn't suck, and that's usually about as good as I can make it. And then other
Yeah,
people
yeah.
often have a very strong response, but I don't. Like, I
People,
still hear a lot of problems with it, basically.
yeah,
Yeah.
people that like I don't know. I guess we call them normal people. Like they don't like people like memories of people saying really nasty things to them. There's nothing they can say to me that I haven't already heard from like my own memory.
Exactly, right. Exactly. Like, every now and then you get someone who's extremely toxic in a comment or something like that, and it just, I mean, I am my own worst critic. So whatever you're gonna tell me, I've probably heard it a million times in my head already. It doesn't matter, right? And in the end, it's also like it's a net result. If 1,000 people are super kind to you and basically tell you what you just told me, like, I'm listening to it, I wake up and I love it, that's fucking amazing, right? And if one person doesn't like it, then whatever. I'm not even upset. Like, I'm not even upset at that person for it. They just have a different taste, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
There's no problem there. But you have to be critical always. Yeah.
Well, I think we should wrap things up here because I know
Yeah.
we've been talking for a while.
Mm,
Yeah,
I think we're gonna need a second round, I think.
I would love that. Like
Me too.
honestly, I want to just keep talking to you because like we've been through a lot of equally things. Even
Yeah.
though you're on the other side of the planet. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
is there anything you want to plug or give a shout out to before we get going?
One short thing I want to say, because I know that that's probably what people want to hear, is that the new album is in the works. And that's all I'm going to say about it. But the band is still alive. It still exists, and it's in the works. So you'll get a
I
heads
didn't
up when
even
it's
like
coming.
ask. Like, sorry.
No, that's fine.
What parts are you playing? Are you like what
Uh,
instruments?
Currently, all of them. Like, I started out with the guitar, and then it was hard to find band members that would be consistently with us. And also, since I'm not playing live for reasons, um, we couldn't really find stuff like a drummer, because most drummers that you find that are actually good, they probably want to play live, right? They don't just want
Yeah.
to waste their time with some homemade project. So at that point, I started to play other instruments as well. And then, when you can play guitar, you can probably play bass to some degree. Then you practice that a little bit until you actually play bass and not just guitar on the bass.
Yeah.
Piano is something that came later, and synthesizer. So yeah, basically the entire setup is currently me. Then there's Skelge, the vocalist, who usually does all of our main vocals. He also sometimes writes songs, but for this project, it's only the final song on Emergence that has been released so far. So let's see if more of his stuff may be showing up in the future. For this third album right now, we're not sure if he will be able to be on there because he moved to Poland 2 years ago. And he basically his priorities in life are a bit shifted at the moment. It's not that he doesn't want to be part of the project, but it's just not really working right now. But in case that he wouldn't end up on this album as the vocalist, I would not exclude that he would be on the next one again. So we'll have to see what happens there for now. I'm not sure yet.
You just make me wish that I was better at vocals. I didn't sound just like a mix between Macho Man, Randy Savage, Lemmy. Because then I could have done it. It could have been called like a couple schizos. Who knows?
Something for a new project.
Yeah, right? Oh, thank you so much for being on this.
My absolute pleasure. My absolute pleasure. Well, it was very nice to not just to be talking about this stuff, but to be talking about this stuff to someone who has similar but different experiences.
Yeah.
And I mean what I said. I think we're gonna have to do a second round of this one. So let me know if you want to do that.
Or maybe we'll do a back-to-back. Who knows?
Who knows?
All right.
So yeah, have fun with the editing, I would say.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being on Mental Health.
My pleasure. See you next time. Bye.
This is the perfect analogy for mental health. All right? Boom, I fall. And then like the jogger comes up. Oh, that happened right in front of me. Do I have to care? Looks around. Do I have to care? Oh, there's no one around. Okay, I'll just keep going.